I really think it's so valid that streamers, creatives, artists, neighbors, people, that we exist in a world where we create something and it can hurt our feelings when people reply and when people make statements and when it feels personal. And I think that sometimes we do feel very connected to our work, and so it can feel like a personal attack. I also think we live in a world where we talk about criticizing people and holding people accountable, and sometimes we don't know how to do that. I saw somebody write on Elliot Sing's chat in regards to the Duthie situation that a lack of criticism is fascism. And I think that's actually the part of this that I think is the most important. That if we do not allow criticism to exist, especially in leftist spaces, that you create a sort of very fascistic social expectation of behavior. I feel it right now. I transparently feel a slight pressure to pull my punches because so many YouTubers showed up in my chat yesterday in my YouTube comments that I have to remind myself that I am not meaning to punch my fellow coworkers, but instead to speak as kindly and honestly as I can about the criticisms that I might have of their work. And I think FD in his response to the Duthie stuff said it perfect, that when you talk about people, it's very hard to do it with care. And so I just want to say, you know, yesterday you guys asked me to watch Taylor Lorenz's video, and I said something like, I hope Taylor doesn't piss me off. And then Taylor Lorenz was leaving me a comment about my vegan video, and I was like, fuck. Like, you know, she probably didn't even see that, but we're going to go over her video today. And when I say things like, I hope Taylor doesn't piss me off, what I mean to express is, I hope this person who makes content that I generally respect doesn't say something that makes me want to unsubscribe. Because even though I'm not obligated to stay a fan, sometimes it can be frustrating when people you like say stuff or collab with people or exist in a space that gets you annoyed. And at the same time, like, I really like a lot of what Taylor does. And also, like, Taylor and I can agree on animal cruelty and we can agree on a lot of things. And we can also be coming from very specific perspectives. Like today, we'll be talking about Taylor Lorenz's exploration into the 62 million. And I'm going to already tell you, we're probably going to be coming from this from a very different perspective as I talk about personal ethics and philosophy. And Taylor is a journalist who talks about technology. So we have to consider that when listening to her opinions, right? I also want to say that when it comes to criticizing fellow creators, Taylor does a really good job in this video here, criticizing Joshua, that she's a fan of, Josh, who's interviewing Natalie Wynn. And this is just like an example I want to give you, right?
But they're kind of doing it already with TikTok.
Yeah.
Like
I'm so confused. I think Josh is like right. By the way, I love Josh. Okay, this is not like Josh hate. He's great, but like, what is he talking about?
Right. And then Taylor goes on and goes, oh my gosh, like, I love Josh, but I got to call him. I got to stop him. This video, no, like, you know, because Taylor is very passionate about what she believes in, right? So, you know, when Duthie makes her video, and none of us really, I don't know, offense to Duthie, I didn't know who she was before this, right? And it's not even about her now. Did you notice that none of us are actually talking about Duthie? Because I don't think anyone's really heard of her in our space until now. That now what we're talking about is how people we do know reacted to Duthie. And so this is like your family drama, right? But it actually is a testament to how hard it is to get along with people. So then Mark, who was the most offended and the only one that I made, I think, a concerted effort to say bad things about Duthie, made a video about it. He came into my chat yesterday and he said, I think we should disband Congress and replace it with National Assembly of Duthinators and Insco Truthers. I didn't even know how to interact with that comment, but this is a real person. Like, he did get his feelings hurt. He said that. He said, like, it feels personal. I wish he had said, hey, Duthie, your video feels personal. I feel attacked, but I don't know what that means. Like, now I can't interact with the comment. He has socially put me in an awkward situation in which I think he is attempting to make a joke that doesn't make any sense for the criticism of the body of work that I produced. And then, of course, then in contrast, you have fucking FD Signifier out here writing a novel in my comment section so beautifully, like listening to every section, taking it apart, like really detailed responses. And the video wasn't even about him. The video highlighted him, but he was so in the small the one criticism I have of FD, he said, I'll look into it. He said, I'll check on that. But Mark just made a weird joke. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying, girly, we're giving you a chance. We're literally saying, hey, Mark, like, be a part of the crew. Take a criticism. Let's do it. Now, I was also on Michael Burns. I was in his chat yesterday. Michael Burns even showed up in my chat and said, hey, no wonder you already had so many helpful thoughts on this one locked in earlier. Yeah, because I'd already done my stream. Then I went to Michael Burns' chat and was in his stream. And I was talking about the health of the community because Michael really wants to build real community. He wants to build a real life community. Michael is trying so hard to do something so tangible. And I think that's beautiful. Wait, did I say Mark? Michael. Michael is trying to build something so beautiful and tangible. And then Mark, I think the problem with the Marks of the world is I don't think they're trying to build community, which is why respectfully, the criticism of Mark's work is that it is produced for income rather than artistic community focus, right? So, okay, let me show you. So, so Mark's content, again, great views, obviously has like, look, he says, lower your standards, subscribe to Mark. And then he goes, full-time hater commentary on the culture, which is fine, right? And then he made this video, okay, which is fine, okay? And, like, again, this is fine. Like, this is fine. You can do this. This is good. Like, so expressing yourself, all that is good. The issue is that because these community people, I think they're more here to make friends than they are to make content, which is different than when Taylor Lorenz, who's a journalist, goes on Hutch's channel, who I would never collab with to save my life, goes on Hutch's channel to defend her article about dark money in the Democrat Party, right? Which I think it was very well done, or in the influencer space, which I think was really well done, and I really like Taylor's piece on that, right? So I think that's very different. So then what happens is, and this is the dilemma, we're all talking about each other, but we're not all doing the same thing. Mark is over here making haha content, haha, right? So Mark is like, why don't they like me? And I'm like, huh? Okay, Doothy's over here making like think pieces. All right, think piece, okay. Okay, this is Doothy. Okay. FD's over here doing streams. Oh, this is really bad typing. Streams and essays, which I guess like the essay doesn't really matter here. He's making stream commentary. Okay, Michael's over here trying to build a community. Okay, he's trying to build a community. And then I'm over here trying to bring it all together to talk about philosophy. But you see how somehow we're all connected? Oh yeah, and then there's Taylor. Oh yeah, hey Taylor, what's up? Right? It's like, this is the thing that I want people to understand. Oh yeah, and then over here there's Chad, who, by the way, is going through something really personal and difficult right now. So everyone leave Chad alone. You know what I mean? So this is the thing, is like, if Mark hadn't commented, then none of us would be talking about him. We'd all just be talking about Doothy. The reason that video is making the rounds is because they tried to silence Doothy, which he is saying did not happen, right? His argumentation is that is not true. That they did not try to silence Doothy. But girlies, if you are talking about her in a group chat and she gets wind of it, or somebody DMs her to say, hey, can you take down the video or change the thumbnail? Now you are doing too much. And now, well, how is she supposed to feel except feel, kind of ganged on, right? Like, imagine if I found out, I don't know. I mean, I guess I have had this experience. I have literally had the experience where bigger YouTubers blamed me for getting negative reactions from the audience when I got people's consent. I don't know why people are upset. When I asked for clarification, I was ghosted. So the rumor behind the scene is that like Brittany made XO person's life harder. And I was like, what did I do? And when I asked, they were like, okay, I'll call you later. We'll talk about it. And then I never heard from them again. That person was Natalie Wynn. That's what I'm saying. So then that's the thing. So you know how FD is on Nebula and then loves Lindsay Ellis? Lindsay Ellis was the woman who started that rumor. And Natalie Wynn confirmed it to me, told me she would talk to me about it. This was years ago. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm processing for you. I don't care about any of this. None of this matters, right? But it does matter because it's not going to stop happening. The fact that I have personal experience with it is why I tell you I'm very cautious about collaborations now. And then the whole Destiny fiasco a few years ago was another example of this, where I was like, girl, Is there any way for community to come together without any of this mess? And this falls into the Michael Burns of it all and the J-Reg of it all and all these men who are trying to, and all these people who are trying to create like truly like in real life community, but then who's the community with and what are the rules and how do we all get together and what does that mean? So I love it. Like I do love the attempt at making community. I love it. But it feels like every time we get into these spaces, we have to have the foundation of it being healthy, informed consent, and not just like, you know, oh, hey, like if I'm trying to think of a situation where if somebody asked me, like, hey, Britt, do you want to be part of this like group chat? Honestly, at this point in my life, probably not. Like, unless I knew every single person in that group chat personally, and we had a good, a good, safe relationship, like probably not. Even though that comes at the expense of me because networking is everything. Michael Burns talked about this yesterday, and he's right, by the way, that the reason a lot of the right-wing people or a lot of the people do very well on the internet is because they collab and they collab and they collab. Pokimane, who had the audacity to come on stream and say, eat the rich, just did a collaboration with MrBeast. Huh? Eat the rich? The man is a billionaire, right? We talked about the Met Gala, right? There were people there who absolutely were not rich, but were standing next to rich people, and that what boosts their resume, right? It boosts their status. Me having YouTubers in my chat makes people go, oh, Brittany knows these YouTubers. Oh, okay, I respect a lot of these people's work. And this is the social reality of this, which is why FD said Mark was wrong for acting like it wasn't crazy to have access to these group chats. Because, you know, it's one thing to reject them on purpose, and it's one thing to never have access to them. So there, you know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, there's a safety factor that goes into this. These bigger YouTubers might feel threatened by smaller YouTubers, and that's why they don't want to platform them or give them attention, right? Which is why my whole criticism of Hassan was he, like, again, when engaging with content creators, makes very specific decisions to avoid uplifting very specific voices, and it only engages with specific people, and it's usually cloud driven and or like, oh, I don't want to like small creators, clout, da-da-da-da. Instead of thinking about the consequence of throwing like people under the bus in any capacity who might be victimized by whatever is happening in the culture, right? This plays into the N-word use from Rami, right? Zoran's wife, and it plays into everything that we've been covering. Okay, now let me do this. Hold on. Let me pull this. Oh, did my internet leave? No, my Discord just reset in front of me. It looked like the end of the world just happened on my screen. Okay, let me show you this because I think this is the point I'm trying to make here. Because again, like, listen, I'm a person. I'm really not trying to like cause an issue. I really like the conversations around this because I think it's what my work ultimately is inspired by. Like the reason I love philosophy, guys, is because it really started to help me answer these questions about why these things were happening. I didn't understand them. Like I was truly so good faith. I'm always good faith when I come into spaces. So I also accidentally end up in situations where I'm kind of being, I don't want to say taken advantage of, but kind of. Like I never in my life would have imagined that Natalie and Lindsay would have done that. I never in my life would have imagined that like any of these YouTubers I've ever met over my life would have done that. Because I'm like, why would you do that? I just don't get it. I've never done that to somebody. Like I've never, you know what I mean? And even when I have, if any capacity similar, I have either been haunted by it for years or apologized or tried to do right by it because we all make social mistakes. We all do things that are wrong. We all make action that is wrong. The issue is that it is happening and will happen again. The question is, when is it going to stop? So check this out because I think this plays into it, right? Because the art is personal, the work is personal, and yet it is also a conversation about ideas. Someone left a comment and said, hey, I've been listening to Elliot and now Brittany, and there is this thing in this story, among others, that bothers me. It's the word slop. It started as a very offensive and dehumanizing term, or dehumanizing, becoming widely used to describe AI content. The most brain dead, low effort, exploitative. And it was mostly used by anti-AI people, art community in particular, the bubble where I learned about it. Then I assume when everyone and their parents started using it, it lost some intensity and became lighthearted, ambiguous, and even ironic, which is basically a life cycle of a niche word. At some point, pro-AI or AI-neutral crowd started using it too, reclaiming it and blurring its meaning even further, ? But it happened so fast, I'd say there's no consensus right now on how offensive it is and what it should or should not be applied to. For me, it's extremely not neutral. If someone called anything I create slop, there's no way I'd take it as a valid good faith critique with engaging with. I mean, I'd probably make an effort to be polite anyways, but it would have the same effect of being called a B word or hysterical. See, that is so interesting to me. That's a very self-aware but facet. Like, I couldn't even imagine having this relationship with the word slop, but fair, right? So maybe that's how Mark felt. Maybe that's how Mark felt, right? I would not accept this word as a fair description or even a quick doodle I draw, even less something that took hours to make. You can call it low effort, or even that won't be true. The effort was not low. It was just the result. It's just that the result is not up to your liking. So while I agree, everything is a chance to reflect on yourself and what you do in the world. Any critique is food for thought, but also a bully will sometimes call you, put an offensive here. You don't just humble yourself because there's a valid point. There might be a valid point, but also you were offended and then suggested not to feel the way you feel about the offense. I don't like this lane. We can all be more mindful with words, I think. Okay. So here's what happens. So here's what happens. Okay. I'm not opposed to anything that was said. Generally, I would say though, the issue is when you have a space that has people fighting systems of oppression, and then you have spaces where people are talking about interpersonal relationships with their besties, the way we have conversations will be different. When we cover Taylor Lorenz later, we will have to understand that she is coming from a policy journalistic perspective, and I will be coming from a philosophical interpersonal relationship perspective, ethics and morals individually. That means that when people review content or talk about or use words, we have to consider where they're coming from. So if I watched a red pillar review my content and they said, she's so stupid, just like every woman I know, I'm going to tune them out. I'm not going to respond to them unless I want to ride that for clout. Okay. Or for money, because you can make a lot of money doing that. And hey, maybe it's worth it, right? Drew Afawalo makes a really good living doing that kind of stuff, which is her niche. And it's really cathartic and I have no problem with it. Okay. She's not punching down or something. Okay. When you're in a space that is commentary, that is popular, and also you're associated with the good guys, the issue is that a lot of people get a lot of social credit for simply existing in a space, doing the bare minimum, while the marginalized people they say they care for are literally fighting unhoused situations, mental health, lack of job security. And it can feel sometimes like you are getting all of the social credit for simply being an ally versus actually being a marginalized person. This is also the main criticism against Hassan, where Hassan is, yes, a minority in very particular ways, but is also everything white supremacy and patriarchal systems means to uphold. And he makes capitalism look good while fighting it. Because he's exactly what people on the right will say the American dream is. A man who speaks his mind freely, who is not deplatformed, who is paid millions of dollars to show up in the body he does, with the voice he has, the name he has, and he exists on this platform and every platform in a way that benefits the system. So he's not actually being counter, right? Versus if you take somebody like a Look, who is one of my favorite people, who's been on The Daily Show, who's very successful in their own right. A Look is not the one being platformed by the left, right? A Look is too unique looking. They're non-binary. They're very radical. They're not interested in playing some game. Hassan's whole thing is that he's the Joe Rogan of the left, and or that he is a typically masculine person who can appeal to these boys who might be radicalized. Exactly. So if Hassan is going to be comfortable enough, or he's going to be a person who these people are comfortable with, then that means not to his social credit that he's so well liked, instead that he is willing to let them maybe get away with things, because if he calls them out too much, then nobody will be his friend, right? So there's a part of this that I think is interesting, because you also can't be another side of the coin where you get along with nobody and you're just a cranky person and everybody sucks. Okay, well, we don't want those people either, right? So let's good faith conversation, guys. Those people don't matter. Nobody wants to be friends with somebody who's always negative, okay? That's different than trying to build a community with people that are going to be safe, right? That's different. So when we talk about what is slop, I'll tell you this right now. Yes, the word slop is negative, and I think the word slop is actually changing. So if you just Google slop content, look, this is a great video. This is a fantastic, this top video here, amazing video, right? This video, I love him. I love. Okay, the rise of content slop is rooting the internet. Okay, Hank Green, what is slop? Okay, content slop. Okay, look at all these videos, right? Look at all these videos about slop, okay? Look, there's even comedic videos about slop.
Hey, what are you doing?
Just consuming images and sounds delivered via algorithm. I literally can't look away.
You need to wake up and realize you're consuming slop.
Slop?
Slop, like oink oink, what piggies eat.
What else is slop?
10-minute video essays talking about YouTuber drama.
Are movies slop?
Could be, sure.
Marvel is slop.
Let's not go crazy, all right? Slop doesn't mean thing I don't like.
Okay.
Slop is something that's low effort to make, not nutritious, and consumed by the masses.
So Marvel is slop.
I shouldn't have even mentioned this.
Sorry, I like using words.
Sure.
I will not resort to hyperbole within the next few years, as indicated by a title change.
Okay.
HBO can't stop producing
I
slop.
went to the Met and all the art was slop.
Wait, you're calling everything slop too?
I too am influenced by the power of fun, trendy words.
Podcasts are slop.
All of them.
Also movies directed by British auteur Mike Leigh.
What are you reading?
William Faulkner's Intruder in the Dust.
Faulkner slop?
Yeah, it's one of his lesser works, so therefore slop.
I'm starting to wonder if categorizing all media and art as content has made us devalue it, and if calling everything slop is the natural progression of a world that doesn't value art.
That sounded like AI slop.
Says the character in a man carrying slop video.
Hey,
Okay, right? Like there is something very, so okay, this is what my philosophical conclusion has been. That we are both things at the same time. That all of my content is slop and all of my content isn't. That everything
Logan Paul has been
hold on, everything MrBeast creates is fucking slop. And everything MrBeast creates is high effort and incredibly difficult to produce. And that's why he has, are you ready for this? 400 million subscribers. 400 million subscribers. Every single piece of content this man has ever made has been fucking trash. And is an incredibly high effort. It is incredibly expensive. It's incredibly, okay, right? Like it's both things. And I think there's a level of humility we can reach where it is like, yeah, like, okay, there is this AI content that gets made that I really, really like. My brain, when it sees it, I feel like an arrow pierces my body and fresh air gets pulled into my veins when I see it. That is the literal sensation I feel when I see it. I don't go looking for it. I don't search for it. It's just, it comes up on my feed. And the moment it starts, like the very moment it starts, it feels like I get hit in the head and I'm like, oh my God, like this is so interesting, right? But I don't look for it and I don't create it. But that is truly my reaction to this content. Some people would say all AI is slop. Fair, right? Okay. But it is one of those things. Chat says, the way I got a LinkedIn notification yesterday for a MrBeast job opening, the way I got an email last night, allegedly from MrBeast's team, I don't think it was real. But somebody was like, hey, we're reaching out to YouTubers. We're doing a new video. Like, you have to sign, and I don't know. I don't think it was real, but I've never gotten an email from a MrBeast anybody, but allegedly got one last night. I don't know, girl. I ignore these emails with peace and love. DM me on Instagram because I don't trust anybody. And even a DM on Instagram, I get a lot of DMs on Instagram too, and I just ignore them as well. Like, because like, even if it's like a channel with 12 million subbies, I just ignore it unless it's like, depending on who they are. Because like, I just don't know if people understand, like, I'm not here to be in your fucking thumbnail, but that's what Pokimane is doing. Pokimane has the audacity to talk about how billionaires are evil, and she's right here in this fucking thumbnail for MrBeast. Girly, why are you collabing with MrBeast? Aren't you rich enough? That's what I'm saying. At what point are you not rich enough? And this was the whole Beyonce criticism that Beyonce was getting. Like, we all love Beyonce. No, I will not take Beyonce slander in my chat. I will take Beyonce criticism in my chat, but I will not take slander. Do not talk to me about how she's not even that good. You need to literally kick rocks, okay? She is that good. The question is, at what point were you rich enough to stop playing this fucking game? Because that's what they tell you the dream is. The dream of capitalism, the one they sell you that isn't true, is that if you get rich enough, you can stop playing the game. Okay, then why do none of these people stop playing it? Because they can't. Because the only reason they get that famous is by networking, showing up at dinners with Ivanka Trump or any of the Trump people, actually shaking hands with Jeff Bezos. They can't actually do it because that's the price you pay to be successful. That is the price you pay. So so again, when we go back to Mark's dilemma, is Mark felt like some of the people felt like, okay, it was hurtful to see Doothy's thumbnail with a bunch of people on it who didn't feel this way about their content. Okay, yeah, chat said, isn't that the idea behind selling your soul? Absolutely. Right? So I'm saying, I just want to talk about it. And also, we don't have to talk about it. Okay? But I think, again, like, it doesn't matter what you call it. Words are meant to express feeling. You know, as I'm learning Croatian, Hrvatski. I'm learning Croatian. And as I learn Croatian, what I'm understanding about this language is there are a lot of sayings that are not meant to be literal, but are meant to evoke emotion. They're meant to convey something. Like, they have random sayings in Croatian that, like, you know, it's like, I can't even think of one right now, but it's always something like, the eye of your mother is the pig of the foot, or something like that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, like, and it's not the words. So slop is what pigs eat, and slop is like, it's like when people start criticizing your food, like what you eat. Okay, like you eat slop, and people are like, you can't judge me for what I eat. You're lucky I'm even eating today. Yes, within the context, absolutely. But if you're in a specific position in life, you deserve to have more than slop. And also, I'm not gonna, you know, be mad at you for eating slop today. Some days I like to eat slop, and some days I take care to make food in 12 different pans and pots that my partner then has to wash, which I did like yesterday. Okay. But sometimes I just like a little bit of slop. Give me some fucking frozen food and call it a day. You know what I mean? So again, like it's like, stop judging yourself, but you should know what you're doing. Introspection, extrospection requires you to accept and engage in the reality that you are engaging in some level of bad, but that doesn't mean you have to judge yourself for it. But I know the word bad sounds like a judgment. And I'm saying use whatever fucking word you need to use so you don't feel fucking judged, and fucking do better or do less bad. Because if you take your time, never changing because the word isn't quite right, girly, this is why the world is the way it is, because you're busy being like semantics, just be better. Just be better. Okay? Oh, she wasn't a minor. It wasn't a child. I'm not actually a pedophile. She was technically illegal. Stop. Stop playing with fucking words, bro. Just own the fact that you targeted a teenager. You reached out to a kid. You know you're too damn old. You know they were vulnerable. Just fucking stop. You're so busy playing games. Own what you did, call it what it is, and move the fuck on. The question is, the reason I think this, again, the question is, why did Mark even respond? The question is, why did he even leave a comment on my video? One I couldn't even respond with. Like, does he know that? Like, Habibi, if he was my brother, I'd be like, Habibi, what did you want me to say to this comment? Like, this is why you have a sister. So you can be like, hey, should I write this comment on this video? Like, I'm not even mad about it. I just don't know what to do with it. Like, is this my autism? Like, I don't know how to interact. This is like the most social awkward situation I've ever been in. Like, what am I supposed to do with this comment? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, what does this mean? We're having a serious conversation, but you know what it is? He doesn't think it's serious. And to be fair, maybe it's not, but it is more serious than that comment. So then I'm like, why would you do this to yourself? Why would you make yourself look more bad? Because I think there's something in people's brains where they can't help it. Logan Paul is a great example of this. He is right now pissing off all One Piece fans. Shout out to One Piece fans. We love One Piece here. We're big One Piece fans. Okay? Like, watch, just
being accused of LARPing, that is, role-playing as something he isn't, after his sudden interest in the world of One Piece. It all started when he showed cases of One Piece trading cards on stream, leading to allegations of doing so only to make money as a seller, thus raising prices exponentially higher and ruining the fun for people who just want to play the game. After all, he's experienced massive backlash for his participation in the
Yo, bragging that I spent $5 million on a card is crazy.
Pokemon TCG market, flaunting expensive cards and consistently buying and selling for ridiculous amounts of money. As a result, he's trying
It's like the people who go to Walmart and buy all the Pokemon cards, and so the kids can't buy them. You guys are weird.
to clear his name by insisting that he's doing it all because he's a huge One Piece fan. However, when pressed on the issue, it has become clear that he's not as invested in the world of One Piece as he claims. Notably, when asked to name a character from the story, he could only name one, and he got it wrong, calling Monkey D. Luffy, Luffy D. Monkey. Then, IShowSpeed, an outspoken fan, tells Logan he doesn't know shit about One Piece after Logan bought the original manga issues for tens of thousands of dollars. Logan responded by photographing himself reading the manga, which seems performative. Next, Logan went full cosplay and started dropping references like Grand Line and Devil Fruit to show that he knows some things about the story.
Okay, you get the point, right? And then even Mother's Basement was like, we gotta talk about this. Parasites are eating your hobbies alive.
On April 21st, 2026, professional dead body filmer Logan Paul and Monsuno...
You know what I mean? So like, okay, what is Logan Paul doing? He's jumping on a trend that will bring him income. And look, my partner and I, we love One Piece, and we had this conversation the other day. I was like, oh damn, it's gotten too mainstream. It's gone so ridiculously mainstream that I'm just like, uh-oh. And look, I don't want to be one of those girlies that's like, One Piece is actually like, I like it and you can't make it go mainstream, but it is, and that's okay. And I'm glad more people are watching it. What I'm actually frustrated by is how many people are watching One Piece and thinking Luffy would like them. Luffy would fucking hate you. Luffy would hate you. Allegedly, Luffy shares a birthday with Karl Marx. Okay? So you need to sit down. Okay, it's one of those things where I think people love One Piece for lots of reasons, and that's okay. But there is a whole group of people that really love One Piece, because they feel it works for them as it speaks to them as minorities. It's about activism. It's about a lot of things. And I, again, will argue with Hassan every day about whether or not Luffy is a quote freedom fighter in a political sense. But what I think One Piece does for a lot of us is it's a work of art. It's a piece of art, though flawed. And yes, I also hate the fan service. And yes, some of those angles on some of those girls is crazy unnecessary. But the story is so amazing and so real and so human that, again, if you watch One Piece and you don't get it, that's fine, girl. I do not care. But it also is one of those things where like One Piece is an amazing story. But that's what art is. Art is something that gets consumed by all kinds of people. People who just like the fighting scenes and people who like the story and people who watch for booba. But the question is, do you know which one you are? Does Logan Paul understand that he is jumping on a trend, right? And that's all I think Duthie was trying to say. And I don't want to speak for her because but I think what I got from her video when I watched it was that she was like, hey, just so you know, okay? Because if you're going to like somebody because they like what you like, don't you understand that some people will use that also as you need to get out this One Piece train because like people really like it and like you'll get more fans because of it. Just be aware of that, right? I'm not saying that you have to be a One Piece fan. I'm saying I think all Duthie is trying to say is like, hey, I don't think Mark, and based off the way he left that comment in my video, is truly engaging in content in a way that we are, in a way that allows us to have the conversation, in a way that like matches up with our ethics. Okay? Because I don't think Mark is an artist first. I think he's a creator first, which I'm happy for him. I hope he continues to be successful. Right? Okay. I want to show you examples of creators that I either like or have been critical of or like in general that I think plays into this conversation, that I think does like really well short content that does good views. Okay. Love. Edvision, love. Okay. 1 million subscribers. This video got posted 24 hours ago and has 100,000 views. So overnight, he has made possibly $500 to $1,000, maybe. It could be different. We won't know for a few days, right? But think about that. Imagine posting a video that's 13 minutes long, okay, that probably took you anywhere from, 10 to 30 hours to make, and it made you $500 minimum. Hey, that's great. Love his content. Like I really love his content. I watch it a lot, especially when I'm getting ready for stream. Okay. So this right? Look, 13 minutes, 14 minutes. And look, the views are great. The views are amazing. Like, wow. Okay. This is good. Like, this is good. I'm happy with this content. And I do think it is higher level than Mark's content. I think he usually has a really strong premise. He has really good commentary. He usually adds a very specific lens as being Asian. I think he tends to be better research. I really like his content. Okay. And I think it's really good. Kara, I always mess up her name. She makes great financial content from a liberal left perspective. She often talks about capitalism and how it sucks. And she's very makes really great content. The only criticism I would have of her content as of late, and this is just so respectfully, is I do think it's about 10% slop. And I do get a little annoyed slightly because I would like to engage in financial content from a left perspective with a little bit more less slop, because there's a lot of financial content I watch that is just very basic. Somebody's watching and they're going, oh, interesting, which I love. But when it's a left person, I want more commentary about capitalism. Okay. So I like Kara's content. I do think she could put 10% more effort into her content, especially since I don't know. I think she deserves it. I think she deserves to have a bigger following. And I think I would love to see her put in that effort. Okay. Financial diet, Chelsea Fagan. You know, I like Chelsea Fagan's work. You know, I'm also very critical of Chelsea. I am also deeply disappointed to find out that with 1 million subscribers and 4 people on staff, they have decided to stop making video essays, which was the bread and butter and heart and soul of her channel. So I'm a little annoyed that feels like you are making a financial decision over an art decision in a situation that didn't need to be this way. So I'm a little frustrated as a viewer that is the case, but I am also glad to see that Chelsea was criticized and she made a 41-minute video taking into consideration the criticism of her audience over AI, which we love to see. See how Chelsea was incredibly dragged in her comments and she said, okay, let me think about this. Let me come back. Let me make a video. Great job, Chelsea. We love to see it. And I think this will always be the distinct difference between commentators that are maybe just young and inexperienced and or not seriously the adult in the room, and Chelsea Fagan, FD Signifier, me, any of us that have seen people make content about us or drag us in the comments go, okay, hold on, what did I do? Let me look at it. Let me look at it seriously. Versus other creators who burn bridges, dox you, stalk you for 2 years, or harass you with their communities. People who complain. You know what I'm saying? Right? Okay. And this goes along with Taylor Lorenz making this 40-minute video basically talking about how much she disagrees with Josh, even though she really respects him and likes him. I would expect Josh to watch this video and not be offended. I would expect him to say, oh yeah, Taylor's got a point. I didn't know what I was talking about. I literally said in this interview, I haven't done enough research. And that's why Taylor's saying, hey, stop talking about stuff that you are admitting you don't know about. Especially since this video, it got a lot of views, his original video with Contra. And now all of those people who watched that video don't know any better, myself included. When the 230 bill came up, I was like, what is this? This isn't my bubble. I'm not this is what I do rely on Taylor Lorenz for. Hey girl, tell me what this is. Which when she goes into it, you realize it's connected to the Heritage Foundation. You're like, uh-oh, red flag, red flag, red flag. So then, okay, you have to realize we can't all be doing everything. So there is a space in the world for Mark's content. There is a space in the world for Taylor Lorenz. There is a space in the world for me. There is a space in the world for all of us, because all of us need to focus on what we're good at and we need to know our lane. Instead of what we normally do, which is a mistake, which is why Natalie always gets in trouble. She always speaks out of place. What was Jordan Peterson's infamous problem? What is this man talking about climate science for? Why does this man feel entitled to talk about climate science? There is a difference between saying my personal opinion is that I don't care about climate change, or my personal opinion is that I'm deeply concerned with climate change, versus saying I have the data and I know what I'm talking about. So again, one of the things I can promise you moving forward, because I've already done it and I'm doing it, is staying in my fucking lane. If I am asked a question that I'm like, hey guys, honestly, I don't know how to answer this, I'm going to focus on that because I don't know. I know what my personal opinion is. I don't know what the legal or repercussions to this is. So with that in mind, Let's watch the Taylor Lorenz video on the 62 million. And as we go into this video, just remember, there is a difference between the work that I do philosophically and the work that she does as a technology journalist. Okay, she is in, guys, she was at the recent White House dinner, the recent shooting. She was in and around the area. She was at events. She is in courtrooms. She is doing, investigative journalism. Like, she is in it, right? I'm not doing that. So when I speak, I'm only coming from a philosophical perspective. I am not coming from that perspective. That's why we have to listen to Taylor and go, okay, Taylor's like in the bubble. So let's take notes. Okay? That's what we're looking for. Because I don't know, that's not my job. I don't know how to. Okay? So let's take a 2-minute break. And when I come back, we're going to jump into that video. And I bet it's going to be interesting, even if I will passionately disagree with how Taylor is handling it, because I already am going to show you a clip ahead of time to show you why I say that. I respect the fact that she is in her lane. She knows what she's talking about. And even though we're here for different reasons, I'm never going to take away from her the right to speak in her field, in her passion, in her lane. Okay? That's kind of the focus. So shout out to Mark for leaving that comment on my channel. Habibi, I really don't know what to do with it. And I see that you even edited it, probably for grammar. I get that. I miss grammar, everything all the time. I don't know what you wanted me to do with that. So I don't know how to respond to you. I wish you had left me a comment that just said, hey, Britt. Hey, guys. Thank you so much for the feedback. I'll really listen, take it into consideration. I'm seeing a consistent pattern from other streamers. Let me sit with this. And then I could have liked it. And I could have been like, cool, very dope, Mark. Love you. Let's collab. But instead it was, I don't even know what this joke is. He says, I think we should disband Congress and replace it with National Assembly of Douthinators, so from Douthy's community, and Insco Truthers from his community. What am I supposed to do with that, Habibi? Like, I just don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. So do you see right there how he didn't allow community to be built? Even though we gave him, maybe he didn't see it, but I promise you the door is open. We're offering you a fruit. We're saying, hey, if you would like, you can join, you can hang out. But if you don't want to, that's okay, because apparently he's in a group thread with a bunch of other cool YouTubers. And that's the question. Why are you group over there and why are we over here? And that's really where the question comes into play. What group is he a part of? And isn't it interesting that right now, as of right now, I think he's the only one who's made a formalized video about it. Maybe we'll wait for others to speak up, but that means he really was the most impacted by it, but got defensive and didn't learn anything from it. You know?